Well, what you should do, it's nice to interview the speaker. I think it would be more fun for you to have a way that you would randomly pick someone from the audience to interview. Wouldn't that be fun? How many of you would be like, yeah, let's get to know the audience, right? Okay, well, how about I pick someone randomly? Okay, so let me pick someone who will pick someone. Then it's not me, all right? So I'm going to pick on you. And you're going to pick anyone in the audience, and I'm going to ask them a few questions about themselves.
Okay. No, I'm not going to choose Tristan because he's too bubbly, so he's going to...
No, and we all know him already, huh?
That's quiet, so I'm going to choose Jan Willem because he's his first camp, so...
Brilliant. Come up front, come up front. So brilliant. We're practicing going from awkward to authentic to anointed, right? So we really want to learn. Okay, so tell us just basics, where you're from and what stage of life you're in and what occupies most of your time. Do we want to can we give him a mic? Which one? The blue one? Okay.
Okay.
Just hold it, close it like...
Okay, what am I?
So just tell us where you're from, your name so that everyone can get it, and then what stage of life, what occupies most of your time.
So my name is Jan Willem. I'm from Pretoria. And I'm in the awkward stage at this moment, obviously.
Welcome to the club. Yeah.
And then I'm busy studying at Saltec. It's an Afrikaans university. And then I'm studying mechatronics. Megatronics.
Megatronics. Can you tell us what is megatronics?
It's like electrical mixed with metalwork and then a little bit of programming.
So you're actually doing engineering kinds of things.
It's almost like mechanical engineering
right.
Mixed with electrical.
Mixed with electrical engineering, and so you're building like computer systems. I'm imagining because you got electronics, you got metalwork.
It's like mini Iron Man.
Yeah, it sounds like Transformers.
Yeah, so it's not that cool.
Okay. Why did you choose that?
So I wanted to become a biokineticist. That's the English one.
Yeah, well, fancy. Does anyone know what that is? Yeah. Biokineticist. So tell me, what is that? Because I'm like scratching my head, like I can't imagine.
It's like a physiotherapist, but it's
okay.
One niche for like sporting injuries and stuff.
Okay.
And so then I had a gap year, and in the gap year I was working for this one guy close to us, and then that's where I got the idea from. The mechatronics idea, he told me about it, so yeah.
And are you enjoying it?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. So you like inventing things, building things, imagining things?
Not yet.
Okay.
But hopefully one day. Yeah.
Okay. So, but that's what's attractive to you about this. Okay. So second question is, I got 3 questions I'm going to ask you. The next question is, how many siblings are in your family, and what's your birth order?
Okay, so I'm a middle child. But I don't think of that. And then I have an older brother who's 3 years older than me.
Okay.
And then also a younger brother, he's 2 years younger than me. And yeah.
So what do we know about middle children?
Invisible.
What's that?
Invisible.
Invisible child, right?
It doesn't feel invisible.
It doesn't. So it's not necessarily true for him, but that's the thing, because you got the older one who's like first in everything, and then you got the younger one who's cute and younger, and then you have to just kind of take care of yourself, right? So that's a middle child syndrome, but not necessarily the case. Your parents were probably brilliant with all the kids. Okay, the last question, and this is the hardest one to answer, so you can pick something that's easy. Tell us some challenge you faced growing up that you overcame. Anything you, I mean, it's like, I'm sure there's a lot of things that we could share, and some of them would be more personal, right? And now, why is this a hard question, by the way? I'll tell you why it's a hard question. It's a brilliant question, especially for building teams and helping. It actually requires a certain level of vulnerability to say, I experienced a challenge that I had to overcome. Okay, so I'll break the ice and say, for me, growing up, I didn't know this. There wasn't actually a name for it, but I had dyslexia. Anyone know what dyslexia is? Dyslexia is like you struggle to read. And I still don't enjoy reading. I actually listen faster than I read. So I get all my books and I listen to them. So I went to remedial reading classes and I took forever to learn to read. Like my teachers were like, what's wrong with him? They're like, you can't read. So that's my example. Yours doesn't have to be like mine. Just what's a challenge you faced that you overcame?
I think trying new stuff. So, I was very set in my ways, boring, if you can say. So, my brothers helped me a lot to get out of my box, try new things, and in that, experiencing more.
Okay, so let's just, I'm going to pick on him for a second because, if you don't mind, because this is really brilliant. Oh, yeah. Okay. This is part of actually helping you with this, doing new things, eh? So thank you for that. So that would be a challenge, not like to be set in your ways is it would be a challenge like you're not going out and doing other things. I want us to look at it backwards and say, could that be a shadow of his strength? What strength would that shadow point to when someone has a routine, that likes to keep things the same, who likes things to be safe? What strength is that pointing to? So I'm going to guess that you like to organize things and you like order in your life and you like things to make sure that things are sustainable and things stay the same, right?
Yeah, logic.
Yeah, and you like things that are logical and to put yourself out. You might find socially you might be a little bit more shy, like all these things. It's out of control. So if you can create an environment where things are in control and logical and organized, that actually feels good for you. That's where that you feel like you're in your sweet spot. Okay, so I want to say that often we struggle with the shadows of our strength and we take the strength for granted. Okay, those things that you have are going to be your superpower when you're making systems that are sustainable. You understand that? And I just want you to, so this shy person who's more introverted and thinks a lot and stuck in his head a lot of the time is actually got a gift that can bless people, and you might never meet the people that you bless because you're creating stuff that you'll send out into the world, but that's actually a beautiful strength. And so when you see the shy person, come and meet that organized shy person inside and help him stretch his wings. How's that? Okay, very good. Right on, kid. Nice work, eh? I'm proud of you. Now, I want to tell you, I think that's more fun than interviewing the speaker, because we get up here and we get to talk and everything, but you are really why we're here. You're what matters. I just want you to know that. I love, there's a gentleman by the name of Benjamin Zander. Has anyone heard of him? He's a conductor. And if you want to see anything, watch something inspirational or special, just look up Benjamin Zander Orchestra and TED Talk. He coaches people that are great musicians and help them to be better musicians. It's just really brilliant. And he said to me in a TED Talk, I was listening, and he was talking to me. But he said something that I have never forgotten. He said, one day I realized as the conductor, I think it's the Boston Philharmonic or something like he conducts orchestras. He said, I realized that I get my picture on the front of all the advertising, like conducting. He said, if like I'm the icon that represents the orchestra. He said, and he realized I never make a sound. He said, my whole job is to draw the sound out of all the people there. And he says, I know that I'm doing my job when the eyes of my orchestra sparkle. He says, as a leader, my job is to get sparkling eyes around me. When you see someone whose eyes sparkle, what is it telling you? is you look into their eyes and their eyes sparkle back at you. What is that person telling you? You're valuable to me. Okay, think of if you have a grandmother that absolutely adores you and has spoiled you rotten since you were a child. She's your Oma, okay? What is the look in her eyes when you walk into the room? Her eyes sparkle, right? And your eyes sparkle back at her, and that is what love is. You understand what I'm saying? So I just want you to think about that. The role of the person up front is for your eyes to sparkle. I just want to affirm to you, young man, that you have beautiful gifts that God has called. Yes, awkward to authentic to anointed. We've all gone through that. We're going through that. You're going through that process. Like, who am I? How do I fit into this world? How does my gifts? But coming to understand that and know that I was so shy and awkward when I was a teenager. That sermon was for me when I was sitting in your. That's why it's like, what could I say that I would say to myself 50 years ago? That's what I would have said to you. And so that's why we can relate. And just think about that. A few years from now, you're going to be pouring your life into others and awakening sparkling eyes. Okay, so I want to talk to you about a topic that's near and dear to my heart as well, and it's the topic of conflict. How many of you have never ever had a conflict with anyone ever in your life? Yeah, if you raise your hand, we need counseling. It's like, where have you been, right? Okay, so we've all had conflict, right? And there's conflict with your siblings. If you have siblings, you have fought with them. You actually have conflict with yourself. Have you ever had conflict with yourself? Like, I can't believe you're so stupid. Like, why did you do that? You've had those conversations in your head, okay? You feel embarrassed or you do something and you talk to yourself, have conflict with yourself. Conflict with our parents, that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, really? I have kids and we had lots of conflict with my kids and I because parents and children don't often see things or don't always see things on the same way. And you actually are in the process of wanting to separate from your parents and be your own adult. And they're like, wait a second, we're still in charge, or we're still not in our house, or not while. And you're like, wait a second, I'm a big girl, I'm a big boy, I can take care of myself. And they're like, no, you're still my child, and not on my. They're like, well, you don't talk to me like. You've had those conversations, right? Okay. And then conflicts with peers, like drama, right? And did you know? I mean, you know this, but how do girls and guys fight differently? So I want to just, let's make this explicit because, just talk about it. How do girls and guys fight differently?
Verbal, non-verbal.
So verbal, non-verbal. So girls often fight with words, right? And emotional intensity. And guys are more physical when we fight, right? That's a stereotype. Although guys can say hurtful things to each other. What's that?
And women can be violent.
Women can be violent too, yes, that's right. You've seen the cat fights, people pulling each other's hair and they lose control. So yeah, that is possible. What's the difference between how guys and girls fight? So men will be more indirect, okay? It's very rare that a man will confront another man directly unless he's willing to fight physically. Like, it's going to be more like on the side. It's going to be more like I have a problem with you, or you send someone else to tell them that you have a problem, right? Like, why? Because men, the highest value for men, we're wired for this. Our operating system is called respect. And you don't say to a guy, listen, you don't point your finger at someone and say, listen, unless you want to fight. Like, okay, we'll sort this out. Okay. What is the operating system for women?
Well, I will say, I think women is more, if they're angry, they will rather go outside and take a walk and come calmly back before they attack a man and fight with him. because they know if they're going to fight with men, they're going to obviously lose the battle.
Okay, so that's a wise woman that takes what you're describing as a wise woman who goes and calms herself first, because it's better to have a fight when you're calm than when you're not calm, right? Okay, and if you have a physical fight with a man, you probably won't win unless you're a weightlifter, right? Because we tend to be bigger and stronger. Okay, but I'm just interested in girls, how girls fight amongst themselves. Sorry?
Girls go straight to the source.
Okay, they'll go straight to the stores. Okay, face to face. We're gonna sort this out. Like, I'm mad at you, I'm angry at you, let's. Okay, we're gonna have girl drama. Girls' operating system is more where men operate on the operating system of respect. Women's operating system is love and value. You really wanna hurt a girl, then take her, become the best friend of her best friend. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's a thing, and I know this because my kids went from elementary school, like they went from elementary school all the way through. They graduated from a school, so they had a friend group that they went to elementary school together with. Okay, and there were kids that came in high school and they could not break in. Why? Because all the girls had their friend, like their couples. Or you understand what I'm saying? This is my best friend. And so how do you, like, to allow someone else into your best friend is actually considered a breach of loyalty. Okay, so there's a triangulation there. Because girls are naturally wanting to be exclusive. Like, they can go deep and have these, it's just, depth is really, really important for women. Okay, and another thing that's really interesting about girls is that girls tend to punish each other by isolation, emotional isolation. It's actually a thing. I read this in a paper. 3 girls were playing in a room. One girl offended the other 2. They continued playing. They simply pretended the third girl wasn't there. And she would try to reach out to them, and they were just like, is there someone talking? Do you hear anything? Okay, freezing out. Other one. So just understand the power of emotion. Okay, so when you have conflict between a couple, a male and a female, you're actually having cross-cultural conflict. That's an important thing to realize, that men and women don't fight the same. Are you with me? Now, let me ask you another question that may be a little closer home. In South Africa, we've got different cultures. We've got English, we've got Afrikaans, we've got, what are some others? Colored, and then we've got Zulu and Xhosa, Venda. Okay, how do Afrikaans people do conflict different from English people? Like, just help me out with, like, culturally, how do people relate to conflict? Talk to me. So I want to tell you a stereotype, and so yes, B, to help me.
People are not afraid of conflicts. They will face it head on.
Okay, so Afrikaners have a reputation of being brutally honest and direct with each other. Is that true? Okay, do you know where that comes from? That's your Dutch heritage. Did you know that? The Dutch are the most direct, confrontational people in the world. And so you are faithful descendants of the Dutch, as Afrikaners. When I was growing up, we said everyone needs a Dutch aunt. And what is a Dutch aunt? Someone who calls a spade a spade. Ja? Sy sal van jou reguit sê wat nou fout met jou is. Okay, how do English people fight? Well, it depends. It depends, because like you can't say all Afrikaners are the same or English are the same, but how do English people tend to fight? Yes. I'm talking about South African English, because we're descendants. My ancestry is English, and when I met English people, I'm like, those are my people. Okay, so there's a thing there. Yes.
Lots of English speaking race is also a big determining factor of how you will deal with it. Race is a very big determining factor of this as well. So I was raised in a mixed school.
Okay.
And how we did with males was very direct. You know, you come to the person and say what's up, and then if you don't solve it out, then it's fine. It was during high school, so there'd be a group of you going together. So there'd be a group, and then they'll sort out things out. The girls would first be gossiping, and then it becomes too much, and then they sort it out. In the English multicultural school.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. So this is English by language, and I think that's a great description. I would say that culturally English, just like British culturally English, and that's not to detract anything from what you said, tend to be use more satire and sarcasm in conflict. And it's just brilliant, because English value what's clever.
Yeah.
Okay, and so if you listen to the House of Lords or the House of Commons debating, they will be using the most flowery language to call the opponents idiots. That's how British fight. Okay, what about Xhosa or Zulus? I know that Xhosas and Zulus fight differently, because I know that what I've been told is that in Xhosa families, the women are the thing, and the men are submissive. And in Zulu families, the men are the thing, and the women are submissive. So you don't want to marry a Zulu man with a Xhosa woman, like that Second World War, right? Because both of them are the boss. So I'm going to tell you the stereotype. You tell me if I'm right, and B, I'm kind of channeling you here. So our conversations. But what I understand from Zulus and Xhosas, especially like your parent conflict, doesn't exist. Why? Because it's just what this says. If you don't, yeah, exactly right. You say what? Like it's just there's only one way, right? There's only one way communication. Otherwise, you get sorted. right? Exactly. What do you mean? Do you have anything to say? I'm just speak now. No. Just mentioning. Am I right? Am I right? Okay.
Xhosa women, I feel like we're more into our words. We say a lot with our words.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're a Xhosa woman?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about it.
I feel like if I'm having a conflict, I resort to I don't know, Xhosa sounds research. You know that stereotype that it's we lean into that aggressiveness when we're in a fight. And you're gonna hear what I'm saying, but as aggressively as possible.
And then we're not just gonna talk about it, but we're going to amplify it. Not only with intensity, but we're going to use words that make it more.
Yeah.
You're an extremely incompetent idiot. Not just that, well, that was stupid, right? You're gonna use uppers. Okay. And that's expected, because that expresses that you're strong. Okay? Can you see how when we're in conflict with one another, we're actually being shaped by the places we come from? Are you with me? Now, why is this all important? Here's the question. What is different about how Christians do conflict and how we see conflict? Yes?
We hide and we gossip about it.
Okay, so I would say in toxic Christianity, like we keep a facade of everything being all right, and then we sweep our conflict under the rug. That's toxic Christianity. Okay, so that's a valid point. Anyone experience that in church? Everything's got to be fine, or you have the stereotypical family's perfect at church but toxic at home, right? So it's like there's abuse going on at home, but at church we're all wearing ties and singing hallelujah. There's that's toxic church, right? We're talking about that. But I want to talk about authentic Christianity. Yes.
So in a healthy, holistic Christian experience, I think we should value relationship more. So if I take offense to anything you said, I should be able to come and say to you, Laurence, I didn't appreciate your tone or the way you worded that. I took offense to it. Could you please, it's my fault actually. I took offense. Offense is never taken but rather given. So could you say it kinder or nicer, use better words next time?
Okay, so you're actually saying as Christians, we're actually going to engage each other.
Yeah.
If there's
My
offense.
dignity, yes.
there's a reason to engage. Now, here's an important thing, okay? I don't care what culture you come from. There's a principle about conflict, all right? And that is that people who fight because they care. If people don't care, they don't fight.
Yeah.
Understand that? That's important to understand. So if there's interpersonal conflict, if people are actually getting emotionally involved and there's interpersonal conflict, just understand, this is the important truth, okay? That when somebody comes to you upset and they're engaging you because they're upset, they're actually saying, I value this relationship enough that I can't let this go.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we often miss in conflict, because conflict is like, what, you want to kill me? No, no, no. I don't want to be killed, so I'm going to avoid you or I'm going to fight back. I learned this with my wife because I was a conflict specialist. My family was chaotic. Like my parents, my mom, I saw my mom throw things around, it's like, wow, lots of things crazy. So I was like, I'm going to be the conflict king. So I learned books on conflict, I read books on conflict, I coach people. Even today, I'm a mediator because of that background, okay? But I get married and I'm starting to experience conflict with my wife in ways that are surprising to me. I was like really, I came to the conclusion that there must be something wrong with her because I had never had conflict with anyone. I was like it was so important for me not to have conflict with anyone, to kind of be like, I can see your side, that I started having conflict with my wife. And I would look at her and it felt like I would come into the house and she would turn the machine gun on me and be like, and I was like, what did I do to deserve that? It's like, why on earth? And I want to take up my shield and just like walk away and say like, okay, that's how you feel. I'm like out of here. Or the second thing I would do is like, I'd hold my shield up and then, are you done now? And fight back. Okay. And I realized something, like after I'm engaging with this, that the most intense conflict often comes from the people that are closest to us. Why? Because intimacy actually creates the greatest possibility of pain. Right? And I'll tell you what, this was the moment. I had this realization, and several weeks later, or within the time frame, it's like I started realizing that we care. That's what's behind conflict. I remember walking into the house, and I came around the corner, and I can still see the place where I was, and my wife just was like, bam, 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 bam. She was just upset, talking to me. And I looked at her, instead of like machine gun, like defensive and then shooting back, I said to her, wow, you're really hurting right now. What's going on? And she started crying. What was she saying to me? This is something that's very interesting about girls. Girls confront in order to connect. Yeah. She was actually saying, I'm upset and I'm missing you and I don't like when you're away and I want you to be close to me. But it sounded like she was like, you get the hell out of here. Like I was like, whoa! It just sounded so, you understand what I'm saying? That's what I was hearing. And what she was actually saying is, I want to be close to you. And I was like, what do you could say that differently, You understand what I'm saying? So part of conflict is part of shifting conflict in a Christian relationship is beginning to understand that behind conflict is the opportunity for what? For closeness. That when somebody is in conflict with you, they're actually asking for you to be close to them. There's something that's come between you that's hurting. And in family systems and in relationships, often we miss that. Okay, so there's a passage of scripture. I'm just completely going off script here. So I'm just going to throw a few things up here. I'll share this with you. So there's 4 theses that I have. First of all, that salvation looks like relational healing. So salvation looks like relational healing. As God is saving us, it actually looks like our relationships get better. So as He's working, that's why for me in Christianity, if we're going to be Christians, we have to do conflict better than anyone else. Why? Because salvation actually looks like relational healing. Number 2, like I said to you, the closer we get to others, the greater the possibility of discovering interpersonal conflict and interpersonal dysfunction. Okay? The third premise then, the third premise is that relational brokenness provides us with an opportunity to experience salvation in our lives. And then the fourth premise is that the way we live together really is our gospel. Okay? Here's the thing, and that is that as long as you live far away from others, you can pretend to be a pretty decent person. It's only when you get close that your dysfunctions become a real problem. And you've got to face yourself. So part of the conflict is an opportunity for you to grow. Does it make sense? Okay, so look at this text here. Let's see if I can... Okay, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17 to 19 is this beautiful passage. Paul's saying, you in Christ, you're a new creation, okay? And then what does it look like with that new creation? There's two things. He says, God has given us a ministry of reconciliation, and we become ambassadors of reconciliation. What does that mean? What does the word reconcile or reconciliation mean?
To rebuild or restore relationships.
So when relationships are strained or stressed or broken, when the power of God is making you into a new person, the thing that differentiates us from others is that we have the ability to fix broken relationships as Christians. That's the greatest test. And that's why I believe that the way we live together is the gospel that we preach. Okay? So toxic Christianity is a result of a denial of the gospel. So the question then becomes, how do you relate to conflict? Like, how do you go about it? How do you do it better? So I want to share some pointers with you, and this is really small. So the first thing I was just saying that conflict is normal. It's part of actually growing up. It's part of developing intimacy. That's where conflict fits in. But there's different layers to conflict. So when you have two people that have an experience of conflict, there's always, I want to suggest that you think about this, there's always 3 conversations that are happening, and there's 3 stories. So here's the 3 conversations. First conversation is the facts, what happened. The second conversation is the feelings, the emotional response to what happened. And the third conversation is what we call the identity conversation. Now, what does this mean? If you're in conflict, what kind of feelings are we talking about? Good feelings or bad feelings?
There are no bad feelings.
There are no bad feelings? Okay, so I would agree with you and not agree. Okay, I want to make your point for you. There's people who say that being emotional is weak or bad, right? That having feelings inherently is bad. Correct. Okay, so I would agree with that. And I would say that the way that I relate to feelings is I say that emotions are to relational space what our eyes are to physical space. So they're actually telling us something. So we're going to say they're not bad in that sense. But when I say a bad feeling, it means a feeling you don't like having. Like what would you rather be, happy or angry?
Happy.
Okay, why don't we like being angry? Because that's not a good feeling, it's a bad feeling in that sense. Are you willing to go with me on that? Okay, all right, we're on the same page. So we assume that something has happened that the feeling that I'm feeling is a feeling I don't like. Like I feel disequilibrium. I feel like I'm upset. I feel hurt. Is everyone with me? Okay, so what is it about what's happened? What is it about what's happened that has caused that feeling? Because this is really important to understand in conflict. If you understand this, it's like a key that can open up how to do conflict well. Why are you feeling bad?
How you responded to it.
Sorry?
It's your response to what happened.
So you're having an emotional response to what happened that doesn't feel good. That's true, but there's something about what happened that triggered that emotional response. And 9 times out of 10, it's related to the third part, and that is the identity question. Okay? And here's the insight I would like to share with you. This has been brilliant for me when I'm working with people in conflict. This is one of the key assumptions that I'm making. And that is, listen carefully. The reason I'm feeling bad is because something about what's happened and how I perceive what's happened has suggested to me that I'm of less value than I believe I am. Think about that. Are you with me? Why am I having a bad feeling in conflict? Because something about what happened is suggesting to me that I'm of less value than I believe that I am. Now there's two groups of people, two extremes when it comes to like our identity and our sense of value. One group of us grew up in a family where we were told that we were beautiful and brilliant and we were the best and we were God's gift to creation. Like, my, we're so glad that you arrived. You're here right on time, and you know, there should be a red carpet rolled out for you wherever you walk, because you're just special. Okay? Anyone here can relate to that or willing to admit that you had parents that just thought you were the best of the best? Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. If you had someone in your life like that, it's a gift. It's a gift to have been told and appreciated and valued. Okay, but there's a percentage of people who grew up in families where you were constantly reminded that you were a nuisance, that you're in the way, that you're probably not going to amount to anything, we just wish that, okay? We constantly told those things. Is anyone willing to admit that, okay, that was you? Okay, so I'm going to tell you that when you're in conflict, okay, the people on this side, how are they going to relate? If you suggest that they are less value than they are, people who are kind of born royalty, how are they going to relate?
They fight to defend that value.
They're going to be like, how dare you suggest that I'm anything less than blue blood? Like you just, well, where are you on earth are you coming from? You are just clueless. Like, to suggest that I'm of less value is ridiculous. Okay, how do you respond when you've grown up your whole life being told that you're of no value? Where does the pain come from?
It's almost like affirming that.
It's just another reminder that I've got no value. Because being told that you have no value is not a pleasant experience. Okay, because everyone inherently longs to believe that they are of value. As a matter of fact, the very essence of love is the projection of value on the other. Like, you are valuable. I will cancel appointments to be with you. I will drive miles to see you. All of those things, I bring flowers to you. What is that all saying? You're valuable. Okay, so to be told I'm not valuable is just another reminder that I'm not loved, I'm not wanted, I'm not desirable, I'm not desired, and that's painful. Okay, can you see that it's possible that two people could be in a situation and actually experience the facts differently so that what was intended here came across differently, the impact came across differently than it was intended, and this person could be in pain because this person said something that and came across in a way that was not intended. Can you see how that could happen? Because something that about what happened is suggested to you that you have less value. Now you put men and women together and you increase exponentially the possibility of that happening. Are you following me? So how do you resolve this? How do you fix it when you've got two people and there's two sets of what happened and how you're feeling and the identity questions behind it? Okay? Remember that in every conflict there's I'm just jumping here. There's three stories. So there's three stories. So let's talk about the three stories. First story is it's my story, right? Second story is your story. And what's the third story? Okay, it's a story that's closer to the truth. Okay, so if we assume that there's my story, your story, and then maybe we could say this, the story the way God sees it. All right, because just with all the facts, looking from both sides. Okay, how then do you engage in conflict in a way that de-escalates rather than escalates conflict? Well, there's two ways that we can come to conflict. Number one, we come with the mindset of confrontation. What does confrontation assume? Talk to me. We've had conflict, I'm coming to confront you.
I'm right, you're wrong.
Confrontation assumes I'm right, you're wrong, and the purpose of this conversation is to show you that you're wrong, and you need to do what? You need to apologize, you need to change, or you need to pay. Are you with me? All right? Confrontation. How do people react to confrontation?
Defense.
Why? Okay, he said defensively. Why do we react? It's as predictable as the rising of the sun that people react defensively when we come with the mindset of confrontation. Why?
I'm not wrong, you're wrong.
Okay? Because I believe I'm right and you're wrong, and so I'm responding defensively because I'm protecting myself against an apparent attack. Now, what's really interesting is I'm confronting because I want to connect with you, but what's actually happening is it feels like you're attacking me. Are you seeing that? I want you to understand the dynamics. I really want to be close. Intimacy is the product of resolved conflict. You get closer, all right? So you can see that confrontation doesn't work. And that's the reason why many people are afraid of conflict. Like you avoid conflict. Why? Because the only mindset that we have is, the only way to do it is to go to the person and say, I'm right and you're wrong, and you need to say, you're sorry. Yes. 5 minutes? Oh my goodness, this is too much. Okay, so let's land this plane. How do you go about shifting the narrative? Well, you got to shift your mindset from confrontation to, say it out loud.
Curiosity.
To curiosity. What does it mean when you're in conflict to shift the narrative in your mind from confrontation to curiosity? Think about it. It's a powerful paradigm shift. And I want to tell you, it changed the relationship that I had with my children and with my peers. And when I do mediation, that's the major shift that I've got to do. Change from confrontation to curiosity. What does it mean to you when I come to you with curiosity? So let's talk about the conflict that we had, that you talked about. Okay? What if I came to you and said, something happened between us that really felt uncomfortable for me, and I've been thinking a lot about it. I've decided to come to her curious rather than with confrontation. Okay? And what if I said to you, I've been trying to imagine what happened from your perspective. Do you mind if I tell you? And how you might be feeling, and how what happened might have impacted your value, your sense of value in the world. Do you mind if I try? And what if I started in her story and I said, like if I was in your shoes, I would have imagined that this, and this, and this happened, and that this would be the reason why you would be feeling upset. Am I right? Okay, what's the chances that I'm somewhat wrong? 100%. I might be partially right, but because it depends on how well I know each other, etc., and how close I was. But I know that's something, and I come to you and I say, because I'm the one that's really upset and offended, but I'm coming to you and saying, that situation between us, I want to know, I want to start in your story. And I want to understand where you're coming from. Okay, what does that do to you when I come and you say to me, you're going to respond by saying what? Yeah, you got it partially right. And then what are you going to do? Naturally, you're going to actually correct my narrative. And I respond by saying, how fascinating, that's curious. Let me clarify, am I hearing you correctly? And I actually clarify back to you what you're saying to me. What am I signaling to you? I'm saying I value you. Yeah. I value your story. Your story matters. How you're feeling matters. Why you were hurt matters. That your sense of value in the world matters to me. I really care about understanding that. If I approach you that way and we start our conflict in that, how are you feeling now towards me?
Disarmed. That's reconciliation and repair.
Exactly. I have completely disarmed you, not in a way that I made you vulnerable, now I can deliver the blow. You're actually willing to hear my story, if that's done well. That's what's so powerful about coming with curiosity. And then I might say, would you mind listening to my side? Or you might turn it and say, well, tell me from your perspective, like, I'm really curious now, how did it happen? And then I share that, and you were like, oh my goodness, I had no idea that that's how it came across, etc. And we clarify that, and then instead of saying blame, which is like, you're wrong and you need to change and please stop that, instead of making a demand, I go like this. Wow, now that that's happened, I can tell you, this is clear to me, this was my part. And I see your need, and I think I could do this to meet your need in a different way in the future. Do you see how that's changed the narrative? Okay, so there's a book that actually explains this. It's called Difficult Conversations. If you want to read it, I recommend it. Okay, I'm going to end with this. There's another book that a guy by the name of Marshall Rosenberg wrote. It's called Nonviolent Communication. And it's such a brilliant book. I've had people change their marriages, change their lives after reading. So Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. If you're interested in this, please read it. Difficult Conversations and Nonviolent Communication. So here's what Marshall Rosenberg brought to the table. He said, when you're in a relationship and you make a demand of someone else, they have got two options. What's the two options if I say, you must do that, which Afrikaners often say that and they're actually making a suggestion. So you've got to be careful. As a matter of fact, if you go to the United States, just want you to know you have to filter that. Because Americans are like, what? These South Africans are very demanding. When we say, you must do that, we're actually saying, I suggest. But anyway, I'm going to make a demand and say, you have to do that. You must do that. You got two responses. What is that? If I make a demand.
You reject or concede.
You either reject and rebel or you surrender to my demand. Okay, that immediately puts that kind of communication in the category of violence against you. Okay, what if I came to you and I said to you, look, I know you don't have to do this, but I want to tell you what my need is. Now, if you don't choose to meet my need, that's up to you, but I want to be vulnerable and tell you this is my need in that situation. What does that change? How does that change the equation? From making a demand to making a request. How does that change the equation?
Empathy.
Now,
Awaken empathy.
exactly, you put in a position, and this is what Marshall Rosen, he's a Jewish psychologist, and he says something very brilliant. When you make a request, you give the other the opportunity to do something we love the most, and that is to be generous.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy good? Okay, so how can we shift the conflict narrative as Christians? Two things, curiosity and request. Own our needs and request others. Okay, there's so much more to that. I enjoyed this time with you. I hope this was tickled your interest, that you'll go read those books. And I'm going to talk to the adults about something very similar this evening. But what's the connection? If we want to make heaven crowded, which is kind of the theme, it starts with actually being able to build functional, intimate relationships with the people around us. It's not just inside of us, but how we work out conflict. And I want to tell you, I want to belong to a church where we can have conflict. I like to say that healthy relationships aren't relationships without conflict. The health of a relationship is measured by the distance, the amount of time that goes by between conflict and restoration, rupture and repair. And healthy relationships can have rupture and repair within minutes. That was painful. Let's talk about it. Okay, I get you. Sorry, I won't step on your toe again. Or if I do, please shout because I didn't mean to. Okay? Rupture and repair quickly. So may you be equipped to go home and have conversation with our parents. I remember my wife and I having a bit of an argument, and my son turned and said, sounds like you guys need to have a learning conversation, which is really, let's switch from confrontation to curiosity. So I want to invite you with your peers and your parents to practice being curious. Next time your parents are like, yeah, rah, 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 you say, wow, you're having a bad day. Like, tell me. Like, I'm really interested in your story. Help me understand where you're coming from. Try that on them. They might be shocked. All right, let's pray. Your parents will be like, have a heart attack. Oh, I killed my parents. I was trying to be curious. Father in heaven, thank you so much for giving us the ministry of reconciliation. Please help us as we build relationships as peers, as couples, with our parents, with non-Adventist colleagues, to demonstrate that we have your love in our hearts and that we can be curious because of that, rather than come with anger and confrontation. Father, please, would you empower this group to mediate heaven to their homes and their churches through the way that we fight well. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, everyone.